Alright, good evening everyone. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for legacy death and taxes. And tonight I'm going to be playing some 4-color Loam. I want to test a new card tonight, if my deck list will appear. Come on, you can do it, buddy. There we go. I want to test Cindervines. So that's a card that's relatively new, so I don't necessarily expect everyone to be familiar with it. I'm going to read it to you. So it's an enchantment for red and a green. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Cindervine deals 1 damage to that player. You can pay 1 and sacrifice this to destroy target artifact or enchantments, and Cindervine deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. So that's a relatively neat effect. The hate side of this is soft. You're not playing this to, like, paying an opponent for 1 whenever they cast a non-creature spell. There's plenty of better permanent-based continuous sources of damage, Sulfuric Vortex, Eidolon of the Great Revel, things of that nature. So, like, that's not why we're playing it. We're testing this because it's a disenchant effect with upside. It's also one that you can preemptively play out, because this is a deck that has major issues with, like, back to basics in particular. So this is something that you can resolve in the early game before a back to basic comes down, and then, like, not care about that card later on, which is a really cool spot to be in. So what have I changed with this deck list otherwise? So in order to make room for the 2 Cindervines, I cut Vraska and the Knight of Autumn. Once I cut the Knight of Autumn, 1 Green Sun Zenith going from the main deck, like, kind of made sense, right? Like, you're decreasing some of your toolbox potential, so, like, might as well go ahead and trim one of these. Now, you still want, like, access to this because, like, it's still just another copy of Knight, and it gives you access to, like, Ooze and Teague, like, another copy of them, and that can be pretty important. But we've slipped a copy of Sylvan Library in here over the 2nd Green Sun, which I think makes a lot of sense. Props to Loamer Boy in chat, Connor, for providing me with this deck list, as well as the sideboarding guide that I'm going to be using tonight. This is a donation deck list. My friend Michael donated to see this in action. Loam is a lot of fun. This is a deck that, like, when I want to play some Magic, I oftentimes, like, just play this deck because I think it's really fun to grind leagues with, and the matches are very interesting. Connor, in return, gives props to Matzel for the deck list. Yeah, Mats is great. Super happy to play against him. The games are always really interesting. Otherwise, I'm not really going to jump into, like, too much of a deck because, like, this is a deck that I played a decent amount of on stream. To just highlight a card that I really like. Marchesa is totally solid, and I love being the Monarch. It's a little risky in this shell sometimes, but the upside of being the Monarch is huge. Like, we've seen Palace Jailer just absolutely run away with games plenty of times on this stream. Oh, that's over here now. I see. Yes, Cindervines indeed is a card. It's from the newest set, whatever it's called. Return to Ravnica? Question mark. It's a disenchant effect. You can scroll over it on Cardboard Live. It's a 2 of in the sideboard if you want to take a look at it. Geez, Lewis has 8 trophies already? Impressive. Chalice on turn 1 and a Loam. Snapkeep. Hand's great. Penguin, happy to have you here. This deck's a lot of fun. I think I enjoy it for similar reasons to why I enjoy Death and Taxes. in that like you're playing a control deck with a lot of different decision points, and I think that's cool. Like even on the first turn, like we can really like go and think about like what land do I want to discard here. I don't think that's going to matter too much since I have the Loam. But I'll probably fetch a basic. Yeah, it is a weird world that we live in. So I think wow, just totally Cindervines. I think Cindervines is a very cool card. I think it's potentially quite good. I want to get in some games with it to like see how it actually performs in practice. But I really like flexible cards in the 4-color Loam shell because you don't have a ton of selection, and so cards that are flexible really go and give you an edge. So my opponent intentionally showed me Underground Sea. So I think they're just trying to fuck with me. I bet they're probably just like Delver. And so I'm gonna board for Grixis Delver. So that means I'm gonna want swords. I'm probably gonna want like Charm for young pyromancers. I'm probably gonna want like Tabernacle, Ajani Thalias. I guess like Little Astro too. Okay, so what do we pull? Like Library, obviously bad. Like you don't want to be paying life against the aggro decks. Teague, obviously bad. Just trim on Bobs. Just trim on Chalice. Trim on Thicket. And the Green Sun. Oh wait, no, I had there's a different plan for the draw. We talked about this before. So on the draw, I cut the chalices just because like they're not going to necessarily be as impactful, as consistent of the time. And for similar reasons, like I can cut the Thalias and instead keep these. Yeah, I remembered that. When I edited your sideboard guide before, I went and organized things in a slightly different way, but kind of like came to most of the same conclusions. And I don't have it written there the way that I'm used to having it for this matchup. But yeah, I agree with what you have. Like the whole like Bob versus Chalice thing is kind of awkward. Like there's a real discussion to be had there about like which one of those you should be playing. Ugh. I think this hand is a mulligan. Like, we can't cast Ajani or Knight because we don't have white mana. So, like, the upside of this hand, even if we draw white mana, isn't actually all that great. Like, I don't have any removal spells. So if my opponent is playing Delver, like I'm guessing, then, like, this is bad. If my opponent is playing combo, this is also bad. So I'm going to ship this one. This hand is better. Like, it still has clear issues. But, like, if I get a black source, Bob can really save me, and I'll get, like, an easy redraw with Thicket. And I'll send that to the bottom. Alright, the random guess that my opponent playing Delver is correct. So, I could just play the Tabernacle now, but if my opponent has a Wasteland, then, like, that's kind of awkward for me. I don't necessarily want to do that. So, instead I'm going to see if I can get him to commit another creature to the board and then drop that Tabernacle. I kind of just want to take my redraw off of Thicket. But I don't think I need to do that immediately. Yeah, see, like, this is a brainstorm that we wouldn't have gotten out of our opponent's hand otherwise. Alright, so I know they have a bolt. Let's put that on screen here. So despite the fact that we're still missing some colors, we're actually in an okay position. Like, we have Punishing Fire Grove, we have, like, Maze of Ith for this thing, we have Tabernacle. I don't think I want to show Tabernacle for as long as possible. I think I'm going to play the Grove and pass. Yeah, Lord Darkview, a buddy of mine donated to see this in action again. I enjoy the deck a lot, so I'm very, very happy for that. Hoping to flop Cindervines into play. See what we can do with that. Oh yeah, I think this is a good time to Punishing Fire. I mean, I don't really expect this to resolve. I expect like a Daze or a Spell Pierce or something, but I'm happy with this. And the Tabernacle will kind of keep Young Pyromancer in check. My opponent essentially turning Daze into Lightning Bolt there. I think I'm going to try to return my Punishing Fire right now and not give my opponent more time to draw into Surgical. Now that they're kind of like aware of it. So I'm effectively at 11 because, like, I know about this Lightning Bolt in my opponent's hand. My opponent will, like, pay for their stuff, like, keep these two around, whack me for 5, put me to 6. Then I can, like, Maze to stop the Delver. Or, like, Punishing Fire. If I get... Like, if I just draw mana, I think I'm in a fine position. That is not mana. So I'm going to go to my opponent's turn, let them pay for their creatures. I don't want to cast anything now, because if they respond, they'll get a Young Pyromancer token. So I can like kind of play around like a Spell Pierce effect by like killing the young pyromancer right now. Although if they have like a daze, that's kind of awkward because like then they get to keep another elemental. But I can also just like try to force another mana out of them on their turn by making them pay for their own young pyromancer, and then that taps them out. Yeah, I'll wait. Although I guess if I wait, life can get a little awkward. All right, really happy to like see not Wasteland. All right, my kingdom for a black source. Yeah, all these cards aren't great, friend. You can have them. They'll very obviously take the decay. It's the best card in the hand, not close. Like the Bobs are very close to dead cards at this point, and like Lily and Ajani are both 2 lands away. So I can survive another turn, like make them pay for all their things, like Maze the Angler, take 4, go to 1. I don't really know how I like get out of it from there, but I'm not dead. I think I'm effectively dead though. Like I don't have mana to cast anything in my hand. I can return the Punishing Fire. Yeah, so like this is one of the few awkward games where we drew like multiple utility lands. Like this sort of thing happens. Okay. So I can Punishing Fire the Delver, Maze the Gurmag, die. I can play Bob, block the Gurmag, Maze this, die. Rats. Like that sort of thing happens. It's okay. All right, so we'll go the Green Sun and the Thicket out for Thalia's in. And then I'll cut 2 Bobs for 2 Chalices. I've gone back and forth about when I'm on the play, like how many Bobs versus how many Chalices I want. Let me see what I came to the last time I played this deck. Yeah, I've still got time. That's not my updated version. I don't know where I put it. I thought it was there. Alright, I'll just whack the submit button like this. I have, like, Bob's kind of a sketchy card, but, like, when you stick an early Bob, it's just, like, cheating. And Chalice can really wreck an opponent when you get it going, so... I'm going to keep this hand. Like, it's not the craziest hand in the world, but I have two very good turn 2 plays and a great follow-up, as well as life from the Loam. I'm just going to, like, keep my fetch uncracked here. I'm going to be, like, very black-heavy this game, so I probably don't have the luxury, excuse me, to just, like, go and fetch the basics here. I don't actually think my opponent has Stifle. I think that's a Stifle bluff. So I probably want to fetch a black land for sure with one of these. So I'll grab a Bayou. And then since I have yet another fetch, I'll probably just, like, grab some white mana here and get a Savannah. I could get Scrubland. Scrubland's probably fine, and I'll lead on Chalice. Again, don't really expect it to resolve, but, you know, if I start fighting the initial counter magic here, I pave the way for some of these better cards later on. Great. Like, I have 2 lands to my opponent's 0 lands. This is a wonderful position for me. My opponent's fetching is really weird to me. Like, normally you want to, like, play these things around, like, Wasteland. They're not doing that, which is kind of weird. So if I just play Bob and they have a Lightning Bolt, I'm kind of sad. If I play Lily and they have a Pierce or a Daze, I'm kind of sad. If I play Loam, it doesn't really, like, get me anywhere cool right now. If I play Bob, they would have to, like, go, like, land and then push. That's probably okay. I'm going to run the Bob out there this turn. Like, it's the highest upside play if everything goes my way. Again, I don't really expect it to. I expect this Bob to die in one way or another, but here we are. Like, now for the rest of the game, I can play around Daze. So, like, next turn I can play, like, Grove into Lily, play around Daze. Like, my opponent either doesn't have threats or has, like, Gurmag Angler as a threat. And either way, like, great. If my opponent, like, taps out to play Gurmag and I slam Lily, and, like, Edict the Lily, and then have, like, Loam to, like, have fodder for my own Liliana, I feel like I'm in a winning position. To go back to the Chalice and Bob discussion, we had one of both. If we had 2 of either, I think having 2 of either of them would be fine. The Thoughtseize is a bit annoying here, but the Loam is essentially going to be a draw 3. So it's not really the end of the world. And if I mill over like a Punishing Fire at some point or draw a Punishing Fire, it will, or Wasteland, it will switch to actively being good. Yeah, Penguin, the first few leagues I played, oh, wow. All right, so you remember that thing I said about how we'd get to play around days for the rest of the game? I think I jam this into days because I think I'll just like win the game by keeping this Underground Sea tapped down if it works. And I'm gonna get Taiga so that if I draw Grove, I can like, or if I draw Punishing Fire, I can like both do that and return it in the same turn. Force, pitching Pierce. Okay, that's fine. We have a lot of very good draws at this point. We're most worried about my opponent just playing a True Name Nemesis. Why are you playing that land before Ponder? What are you doing? Like, the whole reason to like play these cards is like you can take the best card and then fetch away the bad ones. So this is a draw 3. It's not a great draw 3, but it's a draw 3. So I'll redeploy one of these. And then pass. If my opponent doesn't stick a threat, I will just fetch the Dryad Arbor and start pecking them. What? Why? That's not how you're supposed to use cantrips. Like, you pondered, chose to shuffle, then, like, end of turn brainstorm for minimal value. Like, the rest of your hand's already weak. This does not seem like a winning proposition for you. Yeah, I mean, my draws have been very mediocre, but, like, my opponents aren't good either, although, like, this is partially their fault. Like, poor cantrip usage here is, like, very, very clearly happening, or at least it appears so from my side of the table. Yeah, so this is what I'm afraid of. So unfortunately, my Liliana is gone. And so, like, this is a turn where I need to make a decision about what I'm doing for the rest of the game. So I can either try to, like, find Wasteland, put my opponent to no lands, and, like, Tabernacle out this, or I can try to, like, draw into a threat and, like, take over the game. Like, if I draw a Knight, it just will outclass True Name. If I draw a Lily, like one of the 2 Lilies that's left, it answers it. I draw Punishing Fire, I can maybe erase. I also have Golgari Charms to get rid of it. Yeah, I think I have more real outs if I just take a draw step. I'm not going to fetch Dryad Arbor this turn because I'm, like, potentially putting myself into a situation where, like, I will just Stone Rain my own Dryad Arbor if I draw Golgari Charm, one of the cards I'm hoping to draw. Not quite right. Not quite right. Marchesa would also be a fine draw. Like, I would be okay with playing the Monarch game back and forth, assuming my opponent doesn't have, like, a bolt. Like, I'm fine with us both getting... Yeah, that's fine. Like, I have an answer to that at the ready. I should maybe not even cast this. Because if I get Golgari Charm, there's like a huge payoff to me not casting it. Yeah, so I'm not going to cast it. I will continue fetching to thin my deck, though. Like, I know it's marginal, but, like, we're in the, like, marginal stage of the game where that's probably fine. Oh, great. Another life from the Loam. So now I'll leave my fetch uncracked in hopes that my opponent attacks their young Pyromancer into it, and I'll just take 2 fetch lands here. I mean, a better way to put it is that our opponent is drawing hot despite poor cantrip usage. Like, it's not even hot, right? Like, we're just super cold. And this is kind of why I thought the Force of Will last turn was also kind of questionable as well, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose. Okay, Baron Moore is actually pretty good. The question is, like, do I need to, like, Dread? No, I think I'll just take the card right now. Ugh. I mean, I guess. Like, this is the difference between being on a 2 and a 3 turn clock. So, like, this is a super anemic play, but I'm willing to make it. We just have to draw into one of our True Name Nemesis answers at this point. I can, like, dredge into life from the Loam, like, giving up 2 mana in order to Baron more cycle, so that's effectively 3 mana. I think I just want to take the natural draw because it'll allow me to, like, play around random things like double pierce if I draw something hot. Ugh. think it's very poor to play that card out. Like, this is just, like, opening up to a worse Golgari Charm blowout. I guess it doesn't matter if I actually draw... Like, if they have, like, Force blue card, it doesn't matter. Alright. That's a frustrating loss. Like, our opponent answered Chalice and Bob and Lily and a Johnny in a row at the beginning of the game. Like, so be it. But then we essentially drew land the rest of the game. Sure, like, it plays around Lily, but makes the loss to Golgari Charm devastating. Yeah, like, I accept that. It's a frustrating loss, but, like, it's fine. Like, it occurs. This is variance. Like, this hand has lands and spells, but it's very mediocre looking as a whole. I'm gonna take a quick search on my opponent and see if I know what they're playing. If I don't know what they're playing, I'm gonna mulligan this hand. I don't know what they're playing, so I'm gonna mulligan this hand. Yeah, this has Bob. Bob will redeem this hand, hopefully. This has the potential for, like, Bob into Lily, which is a very powerful sequence. The Decay is a hard scry, but I'm going to bottom it in order to look for land. Like, the Decay could be very, very good against what our opponent is playing. Alright, very happy to have bottomed it. And I will just wasteland that Cloud Coast on turn 1, no questions asked. My opponent was just saying that they're a fan of the stream, which is always great to hear. Relevant username is relevant, friend. Just saying. Ooh, so this is interesting. I can just, like, play Baron more tapped in order to curve out, like, Bob into Lily. A lot of times, like, you just want to, like, cycle your Baron more to keep it in the graveyard for loam reasons. But if I'm loaming later, I want to be, like, getting wastelands back. So I think I'm fine just playing this tapped. True Name Nemesis being white would lead to, like, everyone and their mom playing Dread of Night. Wouldn't be great. So there is a world where I just want to play Library in order to specifically look for the card Wasteland. But Bob is a hell of a drug. Yeah, I think there's a very real argument to not playing Baron more. But again, kind of what I was talking about, like, if I'm loaming, I want to be loaming this wasteland. So, like, I don't regret my line at all. And we're not gonna like attack the maze this turn or anything like that. We're just going in and eliminating the mana. We don't need to deal damage quickly. We can take our sweet time. Maze is a fine utility land to play in what is presumably a colorless or very close to it deck. Like, I'm not going to question that. Cracking the expedition map immediately, though, is a little strange to me. Not sure what that indicates exactly. Tabernacle. Okay. That's fine. Love to flip a Mox off of Bob. Opponent can still draw Pithing Needle. Like, Pithing Needle on Wasteland makes this a game again. Without drawing Pithing Needle, I think the game's over. I also probably won't even, like, pay for my Bob anymore. I'm probably just okay with, like, letting Bob die and just, like, wastelanding my opponent into oblivion. Oh, they didn't even play out Mr. Tabernacle. Great for me. So 3, 6, 9. I have like a billion cards. So we'll just start discarding some lands. I'm not going to think too much about which ones I'm discarding. All right. So for anyone not familiar with the matchup, this is very much a landslide matchup in 4-color Loam's favor. It's very good to be the Wasteland deck against the big mana deck. Like, that's just a wonderful, wonderful position to be in. All right. Come on. You can do it. All right. So I want Thalia, Ajani, Marchesa. Ooh, I get to try out Cindervines. Swords. Tabernacle. What are we getting rid of? Chalices are extremely bad. Let's start there. Punishing Fire not really doing its thing. Scoo's similarly pretty medium. That leaves me with 1, so I guess it's Library. Teague also kind of medium, but they do have a couple of big scary things that they can cast, like All Is Dust, for example, so I don't hate having access to this. But whether or not this is actually better than a library, I'm a little unsure of. It's probably better, but I think that's close. Teague does not stop Ballista. Teague says non-creature spells. Is Tabernacle better than a random beater versus the bad version? This dude probably has Ugin and Titans. That's a good question. Like, Tabernacle I don't see as an amazing card in the matchup. Like, a lot of times, if they're playing a bunch of creatures, like, you've already lost. Because, like, they've already beaten your Wasteland plan. So maybe Sylvan Library is actually better than Tabernacle. Anyone else have some thoughts on that? Like, I like everything else we're doing, and I'm doing it. Really like Sylvan Library. That card's great. It goes on my list of like maybe most underrated legacy cards. So I'm gonna keep this hand. I don't have like a wasteland yet, but as soon as I get a wasteland, this hand's insane. And I do just get to go like turn 1 Mox, discard Tranquil Thicket, like go fetch a Bayou, Life from the Loam, get these 2 cards back, and then like turn 2 play a Knight to get Wasteland. So like I'm loving my position. I could Green Sun for Dryad Arbor, but I think Green Sun is just going to become another big idiot. I guess one thing I do need to consider is that if I don't draw a land, I actually can't play Knight turn 2. But I think that's fine. Like, if I miss on a land... Or no, what am I thinking? I'm loaming lands back. Sorry, just got caught up in the streaming mindset there for a second. Ignore me. I have the lands to play Knight, so like I have my Wasteland at the ready. Never mind. Although maybe there is a world where they just name Knight of the Reliquary and leave me with Wasteland. Eh? Eh? Yeah. So I am going to dredge my Loam for turn here. Because putting a Wasteland into the yard is pretty sick. Or not a Wasteland, like any lands into the yard for like Knight of the Reliquary purposes is just great. So of note, this is a situation where not having Knight of Autumn in the deck is bad because like if I had that, I could just go like Green Sun for Knight of Autumn, blow this up, go about doing my regularly scheduled thing. That was not a good draw. So close to what I want. All right. So I can. I wish I would have thought about this turn a little bit more, because I could have gone like play Dryad Arbor, sack Dryad Arbor, get a knight. I guess I can still like sack my scrubland and do all of this, but I could have gotten rid of the Arbor, which I don't really want right now. So I can just like play. Yeah, this is still fine. I should really gotten a Verdant Catacombs there for like redundant Sorceress Spyglass reasons. I don't think that's likely to matter, but you know, tight play matters. Shoot, Sphere of Resistance. I just gotten done thinking this card doesn't matter. Alright, I gotta focus up. I'm not playing this turn particularly well. Alright. We're gonna think with like portals here. So I'll target just that. Hit OK. Go pay for the mana. Recycle it to get a fresh card. I don't even think I want to dredge. I can make a very, very big knight, but like drawing a Cindervines, for example, would just be awesome. So I'll go no dredge. Alright, I played that turn like crap, chat. Multiple different levels. Alright, so Cloud Post makes stage, copy Cloud Post. 9 mana available next turn. That's a scary world. Opponent only has 2 cards in hand. Do they have 2 good cards? That's the real question. I probably want to put this into play and start attacking their hand. Make them live off the top. Ooh, do I have Ghost Quarter? I do have Ghost Quarter. So can I do Lily and Ghost Quarter? Alright, I guess I can just Ghost Quarter twice. I'll attack the Thespian stage 1 first. So now I've given them green mana, which means that a crop rotation could be in my future, but I think I just accept that. I'll return Ghost Quarter and Thicket. Not getting wrecked by crop rotation. That's awfully nice. So the game's not over, but we're definitely favored now. I mean, we were before, just kind of like by the nature of the decks. I don't think I need to loam a second time here. Just take a draw. So loam, get back quarter thicket. No, I think I'm just going to move towards getting my opponent dead at this stage. Like, I'm going to attempt to whack them for 8 this turn, followed by 12 the following turn. So as long as I hit 1 land, I have them dead this turn. So I'm okay taking this risk. All right, and I did it. I think Knight of Autumn is very good in the shell. I really like that card. It's awkward occasionally, like sometimes you're playing against back to basics and like you don't have access to both colors or something like that, but I'm very much okay with it being in the shell. Vraska, though, I was really medium on. I don't love that card. My opponent was last playing black. What does that mean? Pox. My opponent last played Pox. Before that, Miracles. I'm going to keep this, regardless of what my opponent is playing. Like, turn 1 Chalice is stellar. What do I want to do? I think I want to get rid of Grove. I almost just want to get Forest to ensure that I can play Sylvan Library next turn and not get screwed by a Wasteland. Alright, so Force, Pitching Force. If this is like Miracles, then like getting the Forest also plays around back to basics, so that's fine. Death Shadow Delver is the answer. In which case, Chalice of the Void is almost an instantly game-ending card. What were you saying about that backup Chalice, Connor? All in all, still very happy with my decision to fetch Forest. Now, if they have Daze, too, this kind of sucks. Fuck! Scumbag Dryad Arbor. It's a good game. I definitely fumbled around for a little bit in the middle of game two. Like I had a turn where that I just like played horribly. I was just like not thinking about cards that were relevant just because like I like the Sphere of Resistance, for example, I thought was like not relevant to me at all. I didn't care about it. And then I would like started trying to green sun for 3 for a night and I am going to go ahead and Ghost Quarter this now because it'll knock my opponent off of a color, which I think is valuable. There's a... Oh! Opponent does not have basic lands in their version of this deck. That is devastating. It's not an always they don't play basics, though. Notably, now I can't play around a daze, but that's okay. Like, I already have Force covered due to Gaddock-Teeg. I mean, this is only going to be a 2-color deck, though. Like, it's not that bad to play an island. And the, like, versions of this deck did for quite a while. Not always, but it was a thing. Alright. I expect our, like, chances of winning this game to have just shot up by, like, 20 to 30%. Yeah, and our opponent, recognizing that, concedes. Like, we're racing them on board with this stuff already, and the night sticking just means that we're done. Alright, so we are playing against Death Shadow Delver. So I want swords, I want tabernacle, probably want the Johnny Marchesa, Nathalia. What are we getting rid of? We're getting rid of Teague and Library. Scooz is kind of medium. The Green Sun's kind of medium once you cut those two things. And Tranquil Thicket's a little slow. I think I like that. I'd consider the other Thalia when I'm on the play. But that's not the case in this world. I don't know what I'd cut for the other Thalia, though, is kind of the issue. Because, like, I like most of my deck against their deck. I guess Punishing Fire can be kind of medium. I'll keep this hand, especially after my opponent's mulligan. Like, I have a number of good tools for the matchup. I don't know how exactly the first turn or two is going to go. It really depends on what my opponent does. Like, if this is just a cantrip, I'll probably Wasteland them. But it's a threat instead. So I probably want to either Abrupt Decay or Punishing Fire on turn 2. Probably Abrupt Decay. The thing that gives me the greatest chance to do that is just Verdant Catacombs and pass. End of... Ooh, no, that doesn't actually work because, like, Dryad Arbor would be summoning sick. So I could play Barrenmore pass if I want to 100% Abrupt Decay. But then if I get Wastelanded, I lose the Barrenmore and I'm set back a turn. Otherwise, I could play Verdant Catacombs pass and just Punishing Fire the Delver. But then I'd have to, like, fetch Taiga. with Verdant, which I really don't want to do. So I think I'm going to play Barrenmore tapped. It'll expose me to Wasteland, but I think that's fine. All right, a Braid is a good one to know about. This also shows us that our opponent is Grixis, Death Shadow Delver, not just straight blue-black, although the splash is probably just for like some sideboard. You got me. All my white creatures in my hand. They're useless. This is another side benefit of playing 4-color Loam, by the way, is that sometimes your opponents don't necessarily board in ways that are good. Okay, so I know how I just talked about not really wanting to get Taiga, but Taiga will let me cast Decay and Punishing Fire. So maybe it's fine. Although at the same time, I kind of just want to, like, get Knight or Lily into play, and Taiga doesn't make either one of those work. Lord of Darkview, yeah. Yeah, that is a thing. I think if all right, so like whatever land I get will probably just get wastelanded if my opponent has a wasteland, but I don't think they do. I'm gonna begrudgingly get this Taiga. They may not even have another. I'm gonna ignore the Punishing Fire in my hand. I'm gonna get a Bayou. I think the hardest part of this deck is often the selection of your land. The mana base is not a perfect thing of beauty. Yeah, but like Barrenmore Savannah isn't gonna like cast Knight anytime soon. I'd like have to like wait another turn of like Dryad Arboring in play. Okay, so I know about an Abrade. If my opponent doesn't have something like Street Wraith, I can just Punishing Fire this Death Shadow right now for value. So they could have like Street Wraith, Force of Will, but Force of Will would have to pitch a blue card, so that'd be winning anyway. Yeah, I'll go for it. No, I won't, because I'm an idiot. Change my mind. I'm going to take them off of a Braid and then play Bob. Doesn't look like I'll get punished for my mistake. So this is all fine. I'm now in a very stellar position. So awkward. It's possible that like playing Bob is just better than playing Lily here, because like Lily walks into like a Spell Piercer or a Daze or something, but this is just so good if it works. And that was a showcase in why not to board in Dread of Night versus 4-color Loam. Yeah, the last, yeah, okay, the last card was a Braid. I just talked about that. I find this deck really hard to stream with the first time I stream with it in a period, because there's a lot of things to get used to, like, keeping track of. Once I get into the groove of things, I'm fine with this deck, but, like, sometimes the first day that I stream with this, I just, like, do some stupid stuff. Uh-oh. Opponent was last seen playing Sneak and Show. That's a basically unwinnable matchup. So let's look at this hand. My hand doesn't really do anything. My hand does sweet things if I draw another land. If, like, literally the top card of my library is a land, and it has to be a land, not a mox, is a land, then I can go turn to Lily, which is very respectable against this deck. Or turn to Knight, which can get Caracas and buy me time. If they show and tell in a fatty, I show and tell in Knight, and then I get Caracas and bounce the fatty. So I'm going to keep this hand. Accepting that this is effectively a 6-card hand because Abrupt Decay is basically dead, and that everything can go wrong. Land, 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 yes! So, like, we didn't Chalice on turn 1 or anything, but other than that, this is about as good as things go. This is a stellar draw, by the way. I think I'm going to start with Lily plus, discard the Knight. Okay, this is interesting. So, like, Lily plus discards one of these, and then I, like, attempt to resolve the other. But, like, both cards have great utility in the matchup. Gaddock Teague stops the sneak attack route. Knight's much better against, like, the show and tell route. Huh. I also could, like, not plus the Lily. I could just, like, cast the Teague, attack with Ooze, pass, keep Knight of the Reliquary. This is interesting. If I play the Knight and it gets forced, I feel pretty bad about everything. So I think I just cast the Teague. Then on the following turn, when force is off, my opponent hasn't, like, killed me yet, I'd be comfortable casting knight. I mean, I'm not sure it's sneak, but main deck Flusterstorm sure feels like sneak. Person's last finish was on sneak. Well, not sneak. What? Chat? What? Okay. I'm not often confused by legacy things, but this is weird. So, all right, I don't know what's happening, but I think I don't like it. And Chalice is probably good. But then there's this whole Gaddock Teague problem. Replenish. Okay. I think I'm still going to work towards Liliana Ultimate. Yeah, Connor, I thought of that line, but I'm not comfortable enough with what's going on the other side of the table to know if that's a good line. Luckily, Gaddock Teague means we're not going to get, like, Supreme Verdicted or something stupid and lose all of these creatures. So if my opponent is playing Replenish and they dump a bunch of enchantments into the graveyard, they also need to answer Gaddock Teague and somehow do it in a window where I've tapped all my mana, so Scavenging Ooze can't just, like, eat everything. So I think I'm fine. Well, damn, it is a Show and Tell deck, too. And Replenish. Alright, I don't care about any of this yet, but if my opponent produces an Emrakul, I die. Hopefully I'm not dead. Because if I'm not dead, my opponent is, because I just like knight, sack a land, bounce Grizzlebrand, attack for 4, or like Lily minus kill them. Whew. Okay. So we're playing against Replenish Show and Tell. Deck. So Thalia Charm, Cindervines, Leyline question mark? Unsure about how deep they are on like the graveyard replenish plan. I also might just play this to show and tell in. It might work, maybe. Okay. Replenish.deck is not in the sideboard guide now. Alright, so I don't really like Punishing Fire. Alright, so what do we do against normal Sneak? So, like, the Loam package isn't really great either. So I can see he's trimming some of that. Gonna keep Ooze. Maze of Ith is probably pretty weak as a whole. Like, it can stop Grizzlebrand, but like it's still drawing cards, so maybe we've already lost at that point. And Decay is also probably pretty bad. I also don't know if Decay is good or bad, but I think I'm going to err on the side of it being bad. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to cut any other... Actually, Tabernacle. No, I already cut Tabernacle. Yeah, I think I want to keep all my mana-producing lands. I don't know, maybe I'm not supposed to play these ley lines. I don't know. Library? It's either like cut a library or cut a Marchesa. Unsure about that. I think they're very close. I'll keep library as another early play. Marchesa has stolen me a couple of games off of like being show and telled in. I have Chalice and I have Leyline. I have 2 Chalices, in fact. I'll keep this hand. I don't know how good the Leyline actually is. We'll find out. I'm going to play Bayou with the intention of cycling Baron more end of turn. And we're going to hope that a Chalice on 1 resolves. Fuck! Well, I'm going to put in Cindervines. Let's hope it's good enough. If they draw another 7, they only have to cast 3 spells. Oh geez, Attunement is really gross with Omniscience. I just considered it on its own for like the replenish reasons. Alright. That occurred. I guess I just whacked the submit button. There's not too much that I can change. Like, I could play Marchesa over like a library or something, but eh. I don't want to lose to the Attunement deck. It's not how I want this to go. This doesn't make mana in good numbers. So I can turn 2 Chalice, turn 3 Liliana with what I have. That's fine. That will go to the bottom. And I can still turn 3. So this stops Liliana Ultimate. That's all? It does not seem good. Okay. Yeah, and Liliana sack. Yeah, that's fair. But I don't know that that's worth a card. So if I get Scrubland here, I have green in hand from Grove, and then I like would have another color. It's slightly awkward, but that might be fine because then it'll also let me cast like a knight if I draw one, which I otherwise can't do. Hey Julian, welcome. I'm gonna begrudgingly play one of these on 0. It's not great because like it also shuts off my blah 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 words. My Mox Diamonds if I draw one. But I think that's fine. Oh, and Arkin too. Alright, so I'll Lily plus. We both discard a card. I'll discard my Grove. Maybe they'll discard a sweet enchantment that I can eat with Ooze. Yeah. So this is the 1-turn window they'll have to, like, go Ancient Tomb, replenish, before I can just start eating everything that's in their graveyard forever. God damn it. That's really frustrating. And now, like, they have infinite extra turns because of, like, Caracas, Omniscience, Emrakul. This could have been avoided if I, like, double Lily plussed last turn, but I figured, like, keeping Scavenging Ooze was so much more important to play around Replenish rather than to play around, like, that exact sequence of exactly 3 cards. I don't regret my line at all. I would take it 100 times out of 100. Like, I think playing around, like, Soul Land Replenish is more important than playing around, like, a 3-card sequence of, like, Land, Show and Tell, and Emrakul. I think is especially important to play around the Replenish, like, because I am feeding their graveyard, so, like, they don't need anything else to enable it. Yeah, Anurag, our opponent's was on, like, a very weird blue-white Sneak and Show Replenish deck. I don't think I saw red. The deck's super weird. Yeah, what was it? Annulment? Yeah, I saw that in game 1 and had no idea what was going on. Attunement. Thank you. Attunement. All right, let's see if we can scrape together a finish with this deck. Super unfortunate to lose round 1 to the Delver player who didn't really know what they were doing and cast their cantrips very poorly, but, you know, that's where we're at. I don't mind losing to that one. Like, any Sneak and Show variant is going to be really hard for this deck. So I'm on the play, and I don't really have anything going on with this hand. I can cast a turn 2 Ooze into a turn 3 Knight, but I'm not loving that. I'm gonna ship this one. There, Mario. This hand I like. I'll bottom that. So my opponent is a friend of mine. I don't know exactly what they're going to be playing at this time. Like, he streams, so it could be anything. Like, I know he has, like, a Mana Traders account, too, so he can borrow whatever he wants. I'm just going to ram Sylvan Library out there on turn 1. This is strong. I don't necessarily want Cabal Pit. I don't, without knowing what I'm playing against. Like, it's probably good against a Windswept Heath deck, but I don't know that I want to be taking a bunch of damage off my lands right now if I'm also going to take damage off the Sylvan Library. So I'm going to throw that one back, and I'll keep these other two. I don't think I should be 4-0. I think I should be 3-1. I feel like variance should have tipped my way one of those 2 times. I'm not greedy enough to say that it should have tipped my way both times, though. So it's turn 2, and I have a 5-5 in play, effectively 3 lands and a Sylvan Library. Life's pretty okay. Oh? Enchantress? Living Wish for an Enchantress effect? For Emrakul. Are we playing against the... Well, if anything, having a fake university would increase my chances of becoming president. So what am I doing this turn? So this turn, I guess I'm going, like, 3 mana Green Sun Fatigue, and then I could play Dryad Arbor. Alright, I think I'm going to put back Ooze and Trophy. Maybe I should keep Trophy. Like, I'm going to shuffle so I can't just take it next turn. Quarian University, where you go to become a ranger. I like the sound of that. Would attend a class. Now what is it? More Living Wish. What is it this time? Like Tabernacle me? Make me pay a bunch of mana to keep my things? Caracas. This is slightly worrying. But I guess not, actually, because, like, if I want, I can just Assassin's Trophy that. And then, like, redeploy the Teague. Or Wasteland it. So I'm going to try to attack in with everything, I think. So realistically, like, T's going to get bounced. I'm going to hit them for 6, put them to 8. No, I guess I should do this pre-combat because it means my Knight hits in for 1 more damage. White Faces is the best player here. Sees all the lines that are very tricky. Very, very tricky. Now I'm fine with playing both Teague and Bob, I think. If you introduce me like that, Julian, I'm certainly going to win a presidency. Maybe 2. 8 years. I'll have you know, I make some mean drinks. But I also weigh like 120 pounds, so as far as like taking the drinks go, bit of a lightweight. Okay, so all my opponent did was cast Living Wish. So, like, my inclination was this was Enchantress. But, like, I could be wrong, and, like, maybe it's some weird, like, mono-green big mana deck? I don't know exactly what, like, the mono-green Storm deck looks like. Do they have, like, a Living Wish Emrakul finish, too, for when they get a billion D mana? So, like, if it's Enchantress, I want, like, Thalia Charm Cindervines, and that's probably it. I guess, like, Ajani can tap down lands. And then, like, Punishing Fire would suck. And Maze would suck. And I guess Thicket's slow. You say a Knight and an Ooze? Ooze I 100% agree with. Knight's probably correct, but I'm going to look and see if there's anything else I want to cut instead. Just because, like, if I'm wrong, just having Knight as a quick finisher is good. Ooh, Eureka. It could be Eureka. I'll cut a Knight, but maybe I should cut a Decay. Like, if it's Eureka, like, if we're playing against, like, Eureka Tell, then I want to change how I'm sideboarding, but I'll submit it like this. Board as you would for show and tell, and then prepare to die. That's fair. I get to Chalice on turn 1, so I keep this hand. I do need to draw another land to do sweet things on turn 2. I don't actually mind Leyline all that much. I don't know what's happening. Are we playing? Is it like a Rector deck now? I don't feel like it's Nick Fit. Like, there's too many forests for it to be Nick Fit. I don't even know if I should play out the second Mox Diamond in fear of, like, Deed. I mean, I'm going to do it. But this may not be right. Let the record show that I accepted that this may not be right before making my play, which could totally blow me out. Okay, there are other colors in here. All right. Yeah, white faces, that's a good point. Karn. So, Eureka does sound like a totally reasonable deck my opponent could be playing now. I guess. I don't know. Like Eureka, maybe it's like Eureka Rector. Like maybe it has Eureka and the white Rector. Excuse me, Arena Rector. So even though we're countering the therapy, Veteran Explorer can still be sacrificed to the therapy in order to get lands. We only have one basic to get, unfortunately. Ooh! Getting a little punished for playing out the double Mox Diamond early. Because, like, I could, like, have discarded the Mox this turn, assuming, like, I just made all my other land drops and, like, keep the Knight. But now I really want to just attack my opponent's hand and plus the Lily. The Knight is of limited use anyway, because... Alright, they had a ley line. That's unfortunate. Because, like, with the opposing ley line there, it's not huge. It's just, like, a wasteland or utility machine. But I don't think I can hold back. I'm really worried about my opponent having, like, sweet things that they can play. Like, a lot of times the sweet spot for decks like those is around 6 mana. Where you start getting into, like, range of things of, like, Titan quality. Oh, neat. I guess I could just ultimate this Lily. I considered just, like, plussing it forever, but if I ultimate and, like, leave them with, like, 3 lands or 2 lands and leyline, that's probably just fine. So I'm going to split this like this, so that if they keep the leyline, they just get double forest. Or if they keep the pile of 3, I can just get wasteland and knock them down to 2 lands. So the way that I'm splitting here leaves them with 2 lands no matter what. My opponent just said, I literally always sack the wrong pile when I do that. So the way that it's worded and the way that most people play with the card on paper are different things, right? You know, usually when you say, Lily ult, you just say, like, I'm going to keep this pile. But technically, like, I think the pile you choose is the pile that you sacrifice or something like that. So it can work like opposite the way that like most people end up playing with the card in paper. White faces, that is a strong one. That is one that I have never had the privilege to do. I really like that. I've done like Wasteland myself plenty of times to grow the knights, but I've never gone that deep. Okay, so let's just kind of recap the night. We ended up 3-2, but I think both of our losses were probably due to us being on the wrong side of variance. Like in round one, my Grixis opponent like played very poorly, but I drew very bad, and like it kind of was what it was, and I lost that one. And then we got paired against like the weird show and tell deck where we didn't play around a sequence that we could have because I didn't think it was likely that, their last three cards would line up to be the exact three cards that would beat me for the line that I took, but, there we are. Very happy with the deck list. I know that we went 3-2, which is kind of a medium finish, but like the deck list feels great. Fine with Cindervines being in the sideboard. It didn't do a lot of work for us tonight. Like we cast it once or twice, but it wasn't like it was a game-ending card or anything. But I'm very happy to like be playing with that card, and I 100% would try it again. I do really like having access to the second library in the main deck, and that might just be better than like the second Green Sun in the first place. But that's especially true if you are cutting Night of Autumn. The only downside is that like in cutting a Green Sun, you're also effectively cutting another copy of Teague, which does make you slightly worse against some of the combo decks. But I suppose Cindervines is good against a lot of the combo decks anyway. So, like, where does that leave us overall? I think in an okay place. I think we kind of end up in a similar place to where we were with some slightly different cards. But I conceptually like this. I will continue to test this. I would not make any changes to the deck list if I were to submit it to another league. So again, I want to thank Michael for donating for this deck list. I hope you enjoy this video, though you're probably watching it over your lunch break rather than live right now. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate the support. Sort of side note while I'm wrapping up the stream. So the way that I borrow all of these cards is through a card hoarder loan account. Card Hoarder is going to be going public with those loan accounts. So sort of like Mana Traders, you will be able to borrow cards from Card Hoarder. Right now they're in sort of it's not a beta, but they're in sort of like a private initial launch phase of that. I have 2 sort of keys for that service if you are interested in it. It is a paid service, so it's not like free like what I have. But if you're interested in that, like shoot me a message on like Facebook or Twitter, and I can hook you up. I've given away one of my 3 codes for it already, but I have 2 more available. If that's something you're interested in, I'm happy to talk to you more about the details. And plug for Card Hoarder. They've been very good to me, and I think they're a great service. I think Mana Traders is probably slightly awkward if you want to play for legacy reasons, because like you have to pay extra to borrow legacy and vintage cards. So Card Hoarder might end up being a cheaper alternative to that. Okay, now actually end plug. Okay, so I'm going to be back on Saturday. I don't know what I'm going to be streaming yet. I don't have any donation deck lists lined up for Saturday. If you want to support that, you know what to do. You know the donation stuff's below the stream and on the website. Otherwise, I'll just kind of play whatever I feel like that morning. I'm going to turn you over to my friend Bryant Cook, who is going to be playing some tests. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I really had a lot of fun here. Connor, thank you very much in particular for giving me the deck list and the sideboarding guide. And folks, I will see you again on Saturday. As for Told Stompy, please, I'll send you a list tomorrow. Hey, 12 ticks, white faces, and it's yours. Wow. Night, folks.